Atlanta didn't just hear the message, Atlanta felt the warning. One line, one reaction, and suddenly the whole hip-hop world was staring at Offset and Rio Rodriguez like the next move could change everything. What looked like a simple rap lyric turned into a public test of respect, territory, pride, and power. Offset, one of the biggest names ever connected to Atlanta's modern rap legacy, appeared to make it clear that Rio was no longer welcome in the city. But instead of backing down, Rio reportedly pulled up anyway, and that single decision turned an online argument into something much bigger. This wasn't just about a song. This wasn't just about a rapper talking spicy on wax. This was about what happens when a lyric touches old wounds, when alliances get questioned, and when a city with deep hip-hop history becomes the center of a public standoff. Behind the posts, reactions, and viral clips, there was a much deeper story moving in the background. A story about loyalty, reputation, street image, industry politics, and the pressure that comes with being seen as untouchable. Offset is not just another artist from Georgia. He helped build a sound that reshaped mainstream rap for years. With Migos, he was part of a movement that took Atlanta's influence global. The flows, the ad-libs, the fashion, the confidence, everything traveled. That kind of legacy makes every public move heavier. When someone like Offset speaks, people don't treat it like normal internet noise. They hear it as a signal. And Rio is not just some random name chasing attention either. He has his own fan base, his own voice, and his own reputation for saying things raw, direct, and unfiltered. That is why this situation became dangerous for everyone watching, because neither side looked ready to act scared. So before we break down how one lyric turned into a citywide conversation, drop where you're watching from right now. If you think Offset had every right to respond, comment 1. If you think Rio made a bold move by showing up anyway, comment 2. And make sure you subscribe, because this story is only getting deeper. To understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to understand what Offset represents. He is tied to one of the most important rap groups of the last decade. Migos didn't just make hits, they shifted the rhythm of hip-hop. Their sound became the language of clubs, radio, fashion shows, sports arenas, and street corners across America. Offset's name carries that history everywhere he goes. That is why his response to Rio felt bigger than a simple personal reaction. Fans didn't see it as one rapper being annoyed. They saw it as Atlanta's legacy answering back. In hip-hop, cities matter. A city is not just a location. It is protection, identity, pride, and proof. When an artist is strongly connected to a place like Atlanta, any disrespect toward that artist can be interpreted as disrespect toward the whole environment that shaped him. Offset has spent years building an image around success, survival, and status. He has been through public challenges, group tensions, personal losses, industry pressure, and media storms. Still, he remained visible, still connected, still respected. That kind of position does not come easy. So when Rio's lyrics started moving around online, many people immediately wondered whether Offset would ignore it or answer. Ignoring it might have made him look calm. Answering it risked giving Rio more attention. But in rap culture, silence can sometimes be misunderstood. The internet moves fast, and fans often turn hesitation into weakness before the truth even has room to breathe. That pressure is what makes these situations so complicated. An artist can be rich, famous, and successful, but still feel forced to defend his name in public. Offset's message, whether fans saw it as emotional or strategic, changed the energy instantly. Suddenly, the conversation was no longer about music alone. It became about access. It became about whether someone could be told not to come around and what would happen if they challenged that boundary. The second Rio was reportedly seen in Atlanta, the story became even louder. Now, everyone had the same question. Was this a real confrontation building? Or was the internet turning tension into entertainment? Rio Rodriguez entered this situation with a completely different kind of energy. He doesn't move like an artist trying to fit perfectly into the polished industry machine. His appeal comes from sounding direct, rough around the edges, and unafraid to say what other people might only whisper. That kind of personality can create loyal supporters fast, but it can also create enemies just as quickly. When Rio's lyrics started getting attention, fans immediately began reading between every word. In rap, a bar is rarely treated as just a bar when it mentions someone connected to a bigger history. People replay it, cut it into clips, post it with captions, and ask whether it was a joke, a warning, a diss, or a calculated move. Sometimes, the artist doesn't even need to explain. The audience builds the storyline for them. That is exactly what happened here. The lyric became the spark, but the reaction became the fire. Offset's name being involved made everything feel larger. Fans started digging into possible connections, past tension, alliances, and industry relationships. Suddenly, people who had never paid close attention to Rio were watching his every move, trying to figure out if he was serious or just using controversy to push attention toward his music. But Rio's response, or at least the way people online interpreted his behavior, made it seem like he was not interested in apologizing or stepping back. When reports and clips suggested he was in Atlanta despite the warning, the entire narrative flipped. Now it looked like a challenge. Now it looked like a man saying, "You don't decide where I can stand." That is the kind of move that gets fans talking, because it touches the core of hip-hop pride. Nobody wants to look controlled. Nobody wants to seem afraid. But the danger is that the internet loves turning pride into a show. People cheer from their phones without having to deal with the real consequences. Rio may have seen the moment as confidence. Offset supporters may have seen it as disrespect. And somewhere in the middle, the situation became a test neither side could easily walk away from. What makes this situation so intense is that Atlanta is not just a backdrop. Atlanta is a character in the story. For decades, the city has been one of the strongest engines in hip-hop, creating waves that changed the entire industry. From trap music to luxury rap, from street anthems to global pop crossovers, Atlanta has repeatedly shown the world how powerful one city's sound can become. So when someone gets publicly told they are not welcome there, people listen differently. A statement like that carries weight because it sounds bigger than a personal insult. It sounds like a line being drawn. And when a line gets drawn in public, the next person either steps back or steps over it. Rio reportedly stepping into Atlanta made the story impossible to ignore. Fans started treating the city itself like a battlefield of reputation. Every photo, every location tag, every comment, every repost became part of the investigation. Was Rio really moving freely? Was Offset going to respond again? Were mutual connections trying to calm things down behind the scenes? Nobody knew for sure, but everybody had an opinion. The problem with internet drama is that uncertainty becomes fuel. When facts are limited, speculation fills the space. People start connecting dots that may not even belong together. Old clips return, past lyrics resurface. Names get dragged into the conversation, even when they may have nothing to do with the current issue. That is how a lyric can become a full-blown public storm. For Offset, the situation was delicate. Respond too aggressively, and critics might say he was taking the bait. Stay too quiet after Rio's reported appearance, and others might say his warning had no power. Either way, the internet was ready to judge. For Rio, the risk was just as real. The attention could raise his profile, but attention built on conflict can turn unpredictable fast. In hip-hop, being bold can make you look fearless, but being too bold in the wrong environment can make people question whether the moment is worth the cost. That tension is why everyone kept watching. The most important part of this story is not just what was said, it is what people believe was meant. Hip-hop has always lived in the space between direct statements and hidden messages. A rapper can say one line, and fans will spend days debating the target, the tone, and the reason behind it. That is exactly why Rio's lyric became so powerful. To casual listeners, it may have sounded like another sharp line in a rap record. But to people following the culture closely, it sounded like something aimed at a sensitive place. Once Offset reacted, the mystery disappeared. Fans took his response as confirmation that the words had landed somewhere personal. And once that happened, there was no easy way to put the energy back in the bottle. Social media made it worse. Platforms reward conflict because conflict keeps people watching. A calm explanation rarely travels as far as a bold claim. A peaceful update rarely gets clipped as fast as a heated response. So the moment Offset and Rio became linked in the same drama, accounts started pushing the most dramatic version of the story possible. Some fans defended Offset, saying he had every right to protect his name and his city connection. Others defended Rio, saying rap has always been competitive, and nobody should be surprised when an artist talks tough. Then there were the people who didn't care who was right. They just wanted the next viral moment. That last group is what makes these situations dangerous. Viewers can turn real tension into entertainment without considering that the people involved are human beings with families, teams, emotions, and real lives outside the screen. The internet wants escalation because escalation is exciting. But escalation can also close doors that peace could have left open. Offset knows what it feels like to live under public pressure. Rio knows what it feels like to be judged by every word. Both men are moving inside a culture where image can feel like survival, and that is why one lyric became more than music. It became a mirror showing how quickly pride, attention, and respect can collide. There is another layer here that many people are missing: timing. In music, timing can turn a small moment into a major headline. If Rio's lyric had come and gone quietly, maybe nothing would have happened. If Offset had ignored it completely, maybe the story would have faded. But the combination of the lyric, the response, and Rio's reported Atlanta appearance created the perfect storm. Every step made the next step feel more serious. First, people heard the line. Then they watched for Offset's reaction. Then they saw the reaction. Then they watched Rio. Then reports suggested Rio was in the city anyway. At that point, fans were no longer asking whether there was tension. They were asking how far it could go. That is the same pattern that drives some of the biggest rap controversies. A moment starts small. The internet amplifies it. The artists react to the amplification. Then the reaction becomes bigger than the original issue. Suddenly, everybody is trapped inside a storyline they may not fully control anymore. Offset's challenge was protecting his image, without letting the situation define him. He has already built a major career. He has hits, history, fame, and influence. The last thing an artist at that level wants is to look like he is being pulled into someone else's promotional cycle. But because his name and city pride were involved, ignoring the moment completely could have looked weak to some fans. Rio's challenge was different. For him, the attention created opportunity. More people were saying his name. More people were searching the lyric. More people were watching his movements. But opportunity mixed with public conflict is risky. If the attention becomes too heated, it can overshadow the music and turn the artist into a headline instead of a storyteller. That is the trap in situations like this. The drama can build visibility, but it can also take control. Fans may come for the controversy and forget the art. Media pages may frame everything as a war, because war gets clicks. And before anyone can slow it down, the narrative becomes bigger than both artists. That is why this moment feels so unstable. The deeper question is whether this was really personal or whether the internet made it personal. In rap, those two things often become impossible to separate. A lyric can be written with one intention and received with another. A response can be meant as a warning but interpreted as a threat. A public appearance can be normal movement but framed as a challenge. That is why the Offset and Rio situation spread so fast. Every piece of it could be read multiple ways. Offset supporters saw a respected Atlanta figure standing on his reputation. Rio supporters saw an artist refusing to be pushed around. Neutral fans saw a storyline with enough tension to keep refreshing their feeds all day. But behind all the noise, there is a serious lesson about how public pride works. Once pride enters the room, people stop thinking only about outcomes. They start thinking about how they will be seen. That can make it harder to choose the smartest move. Sometimes the most strategic decision is silence, distance, or a private conversation. But online, those choices can get mocked as weakness. That is the pressure rappers face in the social media era. They are expected to be artists, brands, leaders, entertainers, and symbols of toughness all at once. Every post becomes evidence. Every pause becomes suspicious. Every move is judged by people who may not understand the full context. For Offset, the stakes are tied to legacy. He represents a chapter of Atlanta rap that changed everything. He cannot let people feel like his name can be played with casually. For Rio, the stakes are tied to respect and momentum. He cannot let people think he can be publicly checked and quietly disappear. That is what makes this conflict so hard to cool down. Both sides have something to prove to their audience. And when audiences demand proof, artists sometimes feel boxed in. The smartest fans understand this is bigger than entertainment. It is a reminder that words carry weight, especially when they touch real reputations. Music can start conversations, but once ego takes over, the conversation can move far away from the studio. By the time Rio was reportedly connected to Atlanta after Offset's warning, the internet had already turned the situation into a live event. People were not just listening anymore. They were tracking. They were comparing posts. They were looking for hidden meanings in captions, locations, and silence. That is when a rap story becomes bigger than rap. Atlanta's role made everything more symbolic. If Rio stayed away, some people would say Offset's words carried power. If Rio appeared in the city, others would say Offset's warning had been tested. That made the city itself feel like a scoreboard, even though real life is never that simple. People live, work, travel, and move for many reasons. But online narratives rarely leave room for normal explanations. The public wanted a winner and a loser. That is one of the biggest problems with modern hip-hop drama. Every disagreement gets turned into a competition. Every response has to be rated. Every silence has to be explained. But real conflicts are usually more complicated than the comment section wants them to be. Offset's camp likely understood that any further response would only make the story louder. Rio's side likely understood that the more he appeared unbothered, the more attention he would receive. Both positions created tension. One side had legacy, the other had momentum. And the audience was feeding both. This is where industry politics can quietly enter the picture. Rappers are not isolated individuals. They have friends, teams, collaborators, business partners, labels, promoters, and mutual connections. When tension gets public, people behind the scenes often start calculating. Who can still work with whom? Who might be forced to pick a side? Which relationships become uncomfortable? Which opportunities become risky? That is why a public conflict can affect more than two names. It can shift rooms, conversations, and future collaborations. Even if nothing dramatic happens in person, the energy can still change. People remember who spoke, who stayed silent, who liked a post, and who moved carefully. In hip-hop, reputation is currency, and during a public standoff, everybody watches how that currency is spent. At this point, the Offset and Rio situation is not just about the beginning anymore. It is about the unfinished ending. One lyric opened the door. Offset's response pushed the story into public view. Rio's reported Atlanta appearance made it feel like the next chapter could arrive at any moment. And now, the entire conversation sits in that uncomfortable space between music, pride, and uncertainty. What makes this story so gripping is that neither side can easily erase what already happened. Offset's message is part of the record now. Rio's bold image is part of the record too. Fans have already chosen sides, made edits, posted reactions, and created their own versions of the story. Even if the artist decided tomorrow to move on peacefully, the internet would still keep replaying the tension. That is the strange power of modern rap drama. The audience does not just watch the story, the audience helps build it. Every repost adds fuel. Every comment adds pressure. Every reaction video turns the situation into a bigger spectacle. And the more people talk, the harder it becomes for the artist to step back without being judged. Still, the smartest move from here may not be escalation. Both Offset and Rio have more to gain from music than from letting online pressure control the narrative. Offset's legacy is already stamped into hip-hop history. Rio's attention can become real growth if it stays focused on the art. But if the situation becomes only about conflict, the music risks becoming background noise. That is the real turning point. Will this remain a tense chapter in hip-hop conversation? Or will it become something that overshadows everything else? Will both sides let the music speak? Or will the internet keep pushing for a response that may not help anyone? What we know is simple. Atlanta became the center of the story. Respect became the language. And one lyric proved how quickly rap can turn into a public test of identity. Offset versus Rio is bigger than a viral moment because it shows how fragile peace can be when pride, legacy, and attention all collide. And right now, everyone is waiting to see who makes the next move. The most important lesson in the Offset and Rio situation is not about who looked tougher online. It is about how fast one moment can turn into a full public storm when pride, music, and reputation all crash into each other. In hip-hop, words have always carried weight. A lyric can be art, but it can also become a message. A response can be protection, but it can also become pressure. And when a city like Atlanta is involved, the meaning gets even heavier. Offset's position is already established. He does not need a viral argument to prove his influence. His legacy is connected to a movement that helped define the sound of a generation. From Migos to his solo career, he has already shown that his name belongs in conversations about Atlanta's global impact. That is why any public challenge toward him feels bigger than one man. It feels like someone touching a symbol of the city's modern rap era. Rio's position is different, but still powerful in its own way. He represents the type of artist who gets attention by being raw, bold, and unpredictable. In today's industry, that kind of energy can travel fast. Fans love artists who sound fearless, especially when they appear willing to stand in the middle of controversy without backing down. But that same fearless image can become a dangerous trap if the drama starts controlling the music. Strategically, the smartest move for both sides is to stop letting the internet decide the next chapter. The internet wants tension because tension gets clicks. Fans want reactions because reactions feel entertaining. But artists have to think bigger than comment sections. Careers are built through consistency, strong music, smart relationships, and long-term vision, not just viral conflict. The bigger lesson is simple. Respect matters, but peace is stronger than pride. Two artists can disagree without letting the world push them into something damaging. Real strength is not always the loudest response. Sometimes real strength is knowing when to protect your future, protect your people, and protect your name without giving the drama more power. At the end of the day, Offset and Rio both have music to make, audiences to lead, and futures that should be bigger than one heated moment. Hip-hop has always been competitive, but competition does not have to destroy people. It can sharpen artists, push creativity, and remind everyone that the best answer is often the next great record. So now the question is yours. If you think Offset handled this like a veteran protecting his legacy, comment 1. If you think Rio's bold move made the story even bigger, comment 2. And if you believe both sides should keep it peaceful and let the music speak, comment 3. Don't forget to like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more real hip-hop stories, rap drama breakdowns, and the moments everyone in the culture is talking about.